You are probably wondering why everyone in the hallway is staring at us, right? Honestly, this is nothing new. I could feel the weight of their gazes and hear the low hum of whispers as we walked past. It pretty much always happens when the two of us walk through school together. I overheard some girls whispering nearby, saying that we looked like the high school version of Kim K and Paris Hilton. And yeah, that is basically us. My name is Robin. I am 17 years old and just a normal girl who tends to blend into the background. The girl next to me is Allison, my best friend since we were little kids. She is the same age as me, but she comes from a totally different world. In that comparison the girls made, Allison is the Paris Hilton, the rich, shiny main character. And me? I am the Kim Kardashian, but back when Kim was just Paris's assistant and organized her closet. I am basically the sidekick. But do not let her fancy, slightly snooty look fool you. Allison is actually a really sweet girl who is always there for me. I never have to worry about a thing when I am with her. We were just walking when suddenly another girl walked past and roughly nudged Allison on the shoulder. It was Candace. She is in our grade and she is pretty much the queen bee of the school, known for being super competitive and kind of mean. Allison was annoyed immediately. She called out to Candace, complaining that she definitely did that on purpose. Candace stopped right in her track. She crossed her arms, cocked her head to the side, and gave us this nasty little smirk. She sarcastically apologized, saying that it was just too hard for her eyes to notice something as lame as Allison. I could feel the tension rising. Allison poked Candace's shoulder hard with her finger and fired back. She asked if Candace's attitude had anything to do with the fact that she was terrified Allison would take her spot on the cheerleading squad and steal her beauty queen title. That wiped the smile right off Candace's face. She looked furious and snapped back that Allison was absolutely no competition for her. I grabbed onto Allison's arm tightly to stop her from actually attacking Candace. I let out a heavy sigh. Honestly, this kind of drama was nothing new. Because Allison is so beautiful and talented, she attracts jealous mean girls like a magnet, and they are always trying to start something with her. Thanks to that little standoff with Candace, we were totally running late for class. We were hurrying down the corridor. Our sneakers squeaked on the floor when suddenly Allison slammed on the brakes. A colorful poster on the wall had caught her eye. It was an announcement for the contest to find the new cheerleading captain. Allison turned to me, her eyes lighting up with a fierce determination. She told me it was perfect and said she couldn't wait to win the title just to wipe that smug grin off Candace's face. I looked at her, completely confused, and asked if she was really going to register for it too. Allison just laughed like it was the most obvious thing in the world. She said of course she was. She was going to teach that girl a lesson, telling me to just wait and see. As she walked ahead, I trailed behind. I stared at her back while my mind started racing. The truth is, I had already signed up for the competition. I had been waiting for the right moment to tell her. But who knew she would suddenly become so determined to win this just to spite Candace? If Allison found out I was going to be her rival, what would she think? My heart started pounding. I did not want to upset her, but I really needed to win this competition too. You might ask why a quiet girl like me needs to win so bad. Well, it is all for one person. I hugged my book tight against my chest as I walked across the basketball court, trying to look casual, but my heart was already doing flip. It was him, Steve. He was out there on the court, hitting the ball with this shine, an effortless smile on his face that just made my knees weak. He is the basketball team captain, and he is also Allison's cousin. I have had a huge crush on him for the longest time, but the problem is, he is not exactly short on fangirl. I watched from a distance as a group of girls literally tripped over each other, competing just to be the one to hand him a bottle of water during his break. And of course, Candace was right there in the middle of the pack, being as loud and flashy as possible. I would never be that forward, so I usually just stood back and watched him from afar. But my mind started racing with possibility. What if I am no longer a noble? What if I actually become the cheerleading captain? Then Steve would have to notice me, right? I would finally have the status and the confidence to open my heart to him. But then reality hit me hard. Things are way too difficult now. To get to that dream, I have to face up to not only Candace, the resident mean girl, but also Allison, my absolute best friend. It is true what they say. Putting something off will definitely come back to bite you eventually. I was having lunch with Allison in the cafeteria, and we were actually having a good time, just eating and chatting. But then a shadow fell over our table. Candace and her group of friends had stopped right in front of us. Candace had this wicked smile on her face that instantly made my stomach turn. Without saying a word, she reached over, picked up the bottle of spicy chili sauce on the table, and squeezed a huge pile of it all over my food. I watched in horror as my lunch turned into a red mess. She looked down at me and taunted me, asking if I really thought I could compete with them. She told me to go ahead and eat up so I could grow strong, calling me a little girl. Allison immediately jumped to my defense. Her voice was loud and angry. She told Candace that if she had a problem with her, She should deal with her and leave me alone. Then she angrily grabbed the chili sauce bottle out of Candace's hand. But Candace just sneered at her. She called Allison a princess and told her that not everything is about her. She was actually talking to me. Allison looked totally confused. That was when Candace dropped the bomb. She looked at me with a smirk. She asked Allison if I hadn't told her the news yet, that I was also competing for the cheerleading captain position. My heart stopped. Candace and her friends burst out laughing and walked away, leaving me alone to face Allison's rising anger. I stuttered, trying to explain that I was planning to tell her, but the words just wouldn't come out right. Allison looked at me, and the hurt in her eyes was worse than the anger. She asked me if I really wanted to compete against her. I tried to defend myself that I just wanted to try, but it was no use. Allison got even angry. She told me she never expected me to stab her in the back like this. Then she stood up and stormed out of the cafeteria without looking back. I was left sitting there, completely dumbfounded, staring down at my ruined chili-soaked lunch, while the smell of hot sauce filled my nose. I should have just told her in the first place, but honestly, her reaction was way worse than I ever expected. The guilt was eating me up. For the rest of that day, I looked everywhere for her. I checked the library, our usual spots at school. I even went by her house, but I couldn't find her anywhere. It felt like she had vanished just to avoid me. Before I went to sleep, I sent her a text. I told her how incredibly sorry I was for keeping secret. I also explained that I had my own side of the story, and a reason for doing this. I promised to tell her all about it, but only after the contest was over. I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling. I was trying to convince myself that this was just a silly little misunderstanding. Allison is my best friend. Surely she would forgive me by the break of dawn, right? But nope, I was completely wrong. When I saw her in the cheer gym the next day, Allison started treating me like I was invisible. The air between us felt cold and suffocating. No matter how hard I tried to approach her and talk things out, she wouldn't listen to a word I said. She just cut me off and told me she didn't need any explanation from a backstabber. She gave me a harsh ultimatum. Drop out of the contest, and only then would we talk. Drop out? No way. I stood there feeling a mix of hurt and sudden indignation. I mean, I really need this. And hang on, why couldn't I try out just like anyone else? So what if I kept it a secret from her? Was I supposed to tell her every single thing that I did? It felt unfair that she thought she owned my decisions. It was so upsetting to see us falling apart like this. My chest ached every time I looked at her and saw a stranger instead of my best friend, but I realized I had to sort out my priorities too. So, as heartbreaking as it was, I decided to put aside this temporarily broken friendship to strive for my biggest goal right now, the captain title. I poured all my energy and focus into cheer practice. I often stayed late at the gym, pushing my body until my muscles screamed just so I could hone my skill. Eventually, all my hard work paid off. The teacher complimented my technique in front of everyone. She said that my form was excellent. Meanwhile, Allison was having a rough time and only received negative feedback on her routine. I felt a pang of sympathy, so I turned to give her an encouraging smile, hoping to bridge the gap. But she just gave me a hateful look back that sent shivers down my spine. Did she think I was the cause of her poor form or what? I was in the locker room, packing my bag and getting ready to leave, when Allison walked in. The air felt thick with awkwardness. I tried to be the bigger person and softly said hi to her. She didn't even acknowledge my existence. She just walked right past me like I was a ghost. Of course, Candace was there, and she didn't miss her chance to twist the knife. She crossed her arms, a nasty sneer spreading across her face. She loudly commented that being betrayed by your best friend must absolutely suck. She then added that if she were in that position, she wouldn't even be able to show her face at school. That was the breaking point. Allison angrily slammed her locker door shut with such force that the metal clang echoed through the room. Then she marched straight out without looking back. Candace and her friends burst into laughter behind her. They were honestly the worst people I had ever met. The day of the competition finally arrived. I was so nervous that I thought my heart was going to beat right out of my chest. The backstage area was a chaos, filled with hairspray fumes and glitter, but amidst all the noise, I realized something was wrong. I looked around the busy room, scanning every face, but I couldn't spot Allison anywhere. I was frantically trying to look for her, wondering if she was just late. Suddenly, I heard my name booming over the loudspeaker. It was my turn already. I rushed to the side of the stage, standing on standby while trying to calm my shaking hand. Suddenly, I overheard two girls whispering nearby. My blood ran cold when I realized they were talking about Allison. They were saying that she had been in some kind of accident and wouldn't be able to attend the competition at all. Oh my god, Allison, is she okay? A million questions raced through my mind and panic started to set in. I wanted to run over to them to know what happened, but before I could even move or ask a single question, I was on and practically shoved myself through the heavy velvet curtains and out onto the bright stage. The music started booming through the speakers, the heavy bass vibrating in the floorboards beneath my feet. But I just stood there, frozen. I felt completely overwhelmed and anxious. My mind was still backstage, racing with terrible thoughts about Allison's accident, and my body refused to move. Suddenly, a warm wave of sound washed over me as the whole stand gave me a loud round of applause to cheer me on. It was the encouragement I desperately needed. I looked down at the sea of faces in the audience, closed my eyes for a split second, and took a deep breath. I tried to push the worry aside and concentrate. Then I started my performance. I let my body take over, hitting every beat and landing every jump just like I had practiced. As soon as the music ended, I struck my final pose, gasping for air. The whole room burst into endless applause, the sound roaring in my ear. I glanced over at the judges' table and saw them nodding their heads and smiling at me. I had done it. Even though the crowd was cheering, I was way too worried about Allison to celebrate. As soon as I could get away, I rushed straight over to her house to check on her. But when I got there, she didn't welcome me at all. In fact, she looked furious. She screamed at me, asking how I dared to show my face there, especially after what I had supposedly done. I was completely confused. I stammered, telling her I didn't know what she meant, and that I had rushed over the second I heard she fell because I was worried. Allison just gave me this sarcastic smile. She told me to stop the act because she claimed she knew I was the one who pushed her yesterday. She blamed me for her injury and for forcing her to quit the contest. My head was spinning. What was she saying? She turned away to head upstairs, struggling to move on a pair of crutches. My instinct was to help her, so I rushed forward to support her, but she shoved me away hard. I lost my balance and fell onto the hard floor. She looked down at me with pure anger and told me to go away because we were not friends anymore. I was so upset and hurt that I just burst into tears right there on the ground. I saw Steve standing at the bottom of the stairs watching us in silence. Did he see it all? I was so mortified and embarrassed that I couldn't even look at him. I just turned around and fled the house as quickly as possible, and things did not stop getting worse. Honestly, I have never been so scared to go to school before in my entire life. Walking towards the basketball court felt like walking through a minefield. I clutched my book tight against my chest like a shield, trying to ignore the fact that everyone around me was pointing fingers and whispering. It is all thanks to that horrible post on the school forum accusing me of pushing Allison. Because of that lie, my voting rank for the cheerleading captain position has dropped like a stone, and kids I do not even know were giving me dirty looks full of judgment. I just wanted to disappear, so I found a quiet spot in the far corner of the court and plopped down, trying to make myself as small as possible. Suddenly, a shadow fell over me. I looked up and my heart skipped a beat. Steve had come up from nowhere and started talking to me. I expected him to be angry too, considering what he might have seen at Allison's house. But instead, his voice was gentle. He comforted me, explaining that Allison had not been in the right mood recently, and that he was actually sorry on her behalf. This was not a dream, right? Steve had never really bothered to talk to me before, so why was he doing this now? Especially when I was the school pariah. Then, he did something even more surprising. He held out a small bag in front of me. He explained that it was a lucky pouch containing feng shui gemstones. He told me that if I wished for something, I had to confess a sin of mine to the pouch, and then the wish would come true. He said it worked proportionally, meaning the bigger the sin I confessed, the grander the wish that would be granted. But he warned me to use it carefully, because either opening it or overusing it would weaken its energy. I sat there stunned, holding the pouch in my hands as I watched Steve walk away. It was such a sweet and unexpected thing for him to do, especially considering that everyone else was treating me like I was a walking plague cloud or something. I picked up the bag, feeling its weight in my palm, and closed my eyes tight. I decided to test it out. I called upon the pouch's magical powers and confessed a little secret. I admitted that I had purposely hidden that super flashy dress my mom bought me a while ago, and then I lied to her face, saying I had lost it so that I wouldn't have to wear it in public. I apologized for the lie, hoping the pouch was listening. Then I made my wish. I asked to get a good grade on my chemistry test tomorrow. I hoped that seeing a high score would make my mom happy and make up for my deception. After making the wish, I carefully put it in my backpack. I hoped that it would work during the test tomorrow. But no, it seemed like the magic was taking a break. I was sitting there with the end of my pen in my mouth, frowning so hard my face hurt. The last question on the paper was pretty much impossible. I let out a quiet sigh, thinking that the A I wanted so badly was about to slip right out of my hand. But then, something totally unexpected happened. Kevin is basically the smartest guy in our class. He threw a crumpled piece of paper at me when the teacher wasn't looking. I looked around to make sure the coast was clear and stealthily opened it under my desk. It was the exact answer to that one question I had left. I didn't even hesitate. I just quickly filled in my paper without thinking any further. A few days after that, I got my test results back, and I literally couldn't believe my eyes. There was a big A staring right back at me. It had to be the powers of the magic pouch working its charm. Normally, Kevin doesn't even talk to me. It was absolutely fascinating that he would risk getting in trouble to help me pass. Back in the safety of my room, I decided to test my luck further. I made a few more wishes to see what would happen. To my shock, every single one of them came true. Once I even confessed to the pout. I had accidentally spilled water on my old computer and damaged it, but I never told anyone. I wish that my mom would buy me a new one. Unbelievably, just 2 days later, my mom walked in with a brand new Mac. She told me it was an early birthday present. This pouch was a miracle. I decided it was time to use it for my most important wish. I held the pouch tight and closed my eyes. I called upon its magical powers and confessed everything. I admitted that I had kept the secret from Allison. I had been practicing every single night in secret. Furthermore, I had signed up for the cheerleader competition behind her back. I confessed that the real reason I wanted to win was simply that I longed for Steve's attention. I felt I needed the title to gain the necessary confidence. Only then would I have the courage to confess my feelings to him. Then I made my wish. I asked the pouch to please help Allison recover quickly from her injury. I also wished for us to make up and be as close as ever. After whispering all of that into the bag, I breathed a huge sigh of relief. It felt so good to finally get all of that heavy guilt off my chest. The next day, I was pretending to walk past the basketball court like usual. Suddenly, Steve called me over. He handed me a bottle of juice. I smiled and told him it looked like the pouch really had power. But Steve looked at me seriously. He interrupted me. He told me that actually there is no magic. He admitted that he just sneaked a mini recorder inside that pouch. He did it to figure out if I was the one who messed with Allison. Then he apologized to me. What? Inside that lucky pouch is a mini recorder? I realized that the machine must be linked to software on his phone, so he can hear exactly what the other person is saying. Honestly, I felt a huge wave of anger. I glared at him. I could not believe he tricked me like that. He played with my feelings just to spy on me. That was seriously messed up. And then it hit me. He heard everything. He heard my secret. And oh no, he heard my love confession. My face burned, but I was mostly just mad. I wanted to shout at him for invading my privacy. Steve looked panicked when he saw my reaction. He stepped closer and looked me straight in the eye. He said he was incredibly sorry. He explained that he never wanted to hurt me, but he was desperate. Allison was badly injured, and she kept insisting it was me. He said he had to do it to protect his cousin and find the truth. He looked so sincere. He said he would do anything to earn my forgiveness because he felt terrible about lying. Seeing how guilty he looked, my anger started to melt away. I realized he wasn't trying to be mean. He was just a worried family member trying to do the right thing. I softened up and nodded. Then his face turned serious again. He sighed and said that since it wasn't me, he was really worried. He asked if I suspected anyone else because the real culprit was still out there. I pursed my lips and thought about it. I told him it might be Candace. She has a huge grudge against Allison. Steve laughed a little, looking relieved that I was talking to him. He reached out and rubbed my head gently. He said if it is Candace, then he has a way to handle it. Then he waved and said, "See you around." Ever since I found out that Steve knew I liked him, I have been going crazy wondering why he didn't react at all. Is his silence a polite way of rejecting me? I felt so anxious. As soon as I entered the cafeteria, I saw a crowd rushing around. I looked over and my jaw dropped. It was Steve and Candace. They were linking arms like a couple. Wait a minute. What was that in her hand? I squinted my eyes. It sure looked a lot like that lucky pouch. Could it be? While Candace was not paying attention, Steve turned his head around. He looked right at me, smiled, and gave me a cheeky wink. Oh, that is it. Steve was just acting so he could get the truth out of her. The next evening, Steve met up with me. We went to the quiet park nearby. The sun had set, and the streetlights were flickering on. He told me it was time to listen to Allison's confession. My heart was pounding as he hit play. I heard Allison's voice through the speaker. She sounded desperate. She was talking to the magic pouch. She confessed that she actually didn't fall at all. She admitted that I was getting so good at cheerleading, and she wasn't confident she would win. She said losing to me would be humiliating. So she came up with a cruel plan. She spread the news that she had an accident, just so she didn't have to participate. Then she blamed everything on me to ruin my reputation. But then she said something that made the world stop spinning. She complained that everyone loves me. She even said that Steve has a secret crush on me. What? My jaw literally hit the floor. That means this whole nightmare was planned by Allison? And wait, Steve has a crush on me? Is that actually true? My thoughts were all over the place. I looked at Steve, my face burned. Before I could blurt out a single word, he grabbed my hand. He led me straight to Allison's house. When we got to her front porch, the air was thick with tension. Steve angrily turned on the recording on his phone and held it up for Allison to hear. He demanded an explanation. Allison froze for a bit. Her eyes went wide, but then she snapped. She started shouting furiously at us. She screamed about how unfair it was. She wanted to know why such an ordinary girl like me gets so many good things. She yelled that she deserved it, not me. I felt a sharp pain in my chest. I tried to ask her why she would do this to her best friend, but she didn't even let me finish my sentence. She slammed the heavy front door right in our faces. The loud bang echoed in the night silence. I stood there shaking. At least I knew the truth now, right? Even though it sure was ugly. Walking into school the next day, I felt heavy. I really had nothing left now. I had lost my best friend, and with only one more day until the voting ended, it looked like Candace was going to win. I dragged my feet into the classroom, expecting the worst. But as soon as I stepped inside, everybody rushed over to me. They were waving their phones in my face, buzzing with excitement. I was so confused until I looked at one of the screens. Oh my god, there was a new post on the school forum. It was from Allison. She had shared the whole ugly truth about her lies and publicly apologized to me. Reading her words, I didn't know how to feel. I was shocked that she actually took the blame. But a part of me was still hurt. One post couldn't fix everything, right? But thanks to that post, my votes soared overnight. Finally, the moment I had been waiting for arrived. I stood on the stage, heart pounding, as the announcer's voice boomed through the auditorium. The new leader of our cheerleading team is Robin Smith. The crowd went wild. Through my ecstatic grin, I scanned the room and noticed someone standing afar. It was Allison. As soon as our eyes met, she looked ashamed. She turned and hurried away. My heart told me I couldn't let it end like this, so I ran after her. I caught up to her in the hallway. I was out of breath. I looked her straight in the eye. I told her honestly that I was still pretty hurt and angry about what she did, but I admitted that thanks to her post, everything had been cleared up. I appreciated that. Allison wouldn't even look me in the eye. She started crying. She told me she understood if I never forgave her. She stammered, trying to explain herself. She admitted that she was just so jealous and terrified of being left behind while I shunned. Seeing her break down like that, my remaining anger finally started to fade. It was awkward at first. Looking at her, I realized I missed my best friend more than I cared about the drama. We managed to talk straight to each other, really letting it all out. After a long, tearful conversation, she congratulated me. We slowly moved in for a hug. Oh, and remember how I wanted to win so I could confidently confess my feelings to Steve? I giggled to myself. Well, there was no need for that, because he beat me to it. Steve walked up to me and handed me a beautiful bouquet. I felt my face heat up. I thanked him for staying beside me through all the mess. But there was one thing still bugging me. I asked him how on earth that bag could fulfill all my wishes. The other things were understandable luck, but the MacBook was totally unreal. Steve grinned at me mischievously. He admitted that there was no magic there either. He confessed that he had actually called my mom. He pretended to be my teacher and told her that buying a MacBook for studying was compulsory for school. I stared at him, stunned, and then I just burst out laughing. Looking back, I realized I never actually needed a magic spell to change my fate. The real magic wasn't in that pouch, but in finding the courage, to be honest, and having people who genuinely care about me. I guess sometimes you just need a little push to see that the power to shine was inside you all along.